Tomi Lahren's PSA about boyish men. Holy shit, the meltdown and the reaction that's taken place over this one. You know what? Despite the prevailing sentiment, I actually agree with her. I think that what this was a message of tough love and constructive criticism that was well intended and meant to be helpful, but the problem is our society is just way too obsessed with wanting to be offended about everything that they seem to have missed the whole point. So if you got a couple minutes, pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit down, and I'll give you my take on it. All right, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And by the way, the new website's finally up and running. It's lifebyz.com. Make sure you guys stop by and check that out. Now, here's the thing. Being constructively critical, telling a hard truth. In the aggregate, I think that these things add up to, quote, tough love. All right? Tough love. Just like in Godfather 1, when Don Corleone smacked Johnny Fontane in the face, that was tough love.
Godfather, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
Now, I guess in 2021, if you're going to apply tough love, you have to declare it and you have to give a little disclaimer first. So let me do that, okay? Understand something here. The intent of this video, I'm not trying to shit on anyone. I'm not trying to bash anyone, okay? Quite the contrary. I'm just trying to help here, okay? That's why I get into doing these videos. That's why I started the business, because I want to help people out here, all right? The thing is, sometimes to do that, you've got to tell a hard truth. Sometimes you've got to be critical, but in a constructive way. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to pull you up here, and I'm going to tell a couple of hard truths. So there's three things that I want to focus on, which, first and foremost, number one is the irrational meltdown reaction itself. Number two, the whole notion that men are not men anymore, and I do agree with her on that one. And number three, oh, men are not men, and in the realm of dating, here's why, and here's a good example. And I agree with those examples, all right? So let's start off by talking about that. Point number one, all right, the irrational meltdown reaction that this has generated. All right, so here's the thing. We can't fix problems nowadays because we can't talk about problems. And the reason why we can't talk about problems is because we have way too many people who are just so triggered, who are just so spring-loaded to wanting to be offended about something, to the point where, such as in this, they take something that is touch critical, okay, and they epically blow it out of proportion just for the sake of going on a big rant and a tirade that's all geared around them being so offended, all right? Now, look, sidebar here for a quick second. If you haven't noticed between the tracksuit and my accent, yes, I'm from Boston, okay? Up in Boston, we talk fast, we move fast, we're very direct, we're very to the point. We kind of operate up here on this sort of unspoken rule of thumb notion that when it comes to getting your point across, you don't worry about people's feelings, you just say what you need to say, and it's implied that you're not trying to be mean-spirited or act like an asshole. It's just kind of how we operate, all right? Now, why am I mentioning this? Okay, maybe it is a little bit of my personality here in the sense that I don't get offended by too much, okay? But I also do think that there's that in contrast to people making a mountain out of a molehill, as in this particular case right here. You're taking something that is a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10, you're making it out to be a 10, and you're having a stage 5 meltdown over it, okay? I'm gonna go to a couple of clips throughout this video here, starting off with this, okay? And I'm going to focus in on what everybody seems to be having a meltdown about, which are two particular things. The men are trash statement, all right, as well as the it's not us, so it must be you, all right? Let's take a listen and let's talk about it.
Now, I've often talked about the pussification of America and how men are no longer men. I talk to my mom about this a lot, and she says, well, maybe it's just the guys in Texas. Maybe it's just the guys in Los Angeles. Maybe it's not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country in the age range of about 20 to, I think, about 55, maybe even 60. A lot of men are trash. A lot of men don't know how to treat women. A lot of men don't know how to really, quite frankly, pull their heads out of the sand and pay attention.
All right, now look, clearly Tomi has a very strong personality, and I mean that in a good way. That's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? She's got a strong personality, and she did say that with a little sharpness and with a little bit of an edge, okay? Therefore, I don't think it'd be crazy to maybe have the position of, okay, that could have been said a little bit more diplomatically. Okay, fine, I kind of agree with that, but I don't know, maybe it's just the Boston in me. I didn't get all triggered by that, okay? Here's the thing. There's something here called context, all right? And that's the biggest thing. Take what she said and apply the context to what she's saying, okay? The whole overarching dialogue, the point that she's trying to make, okay? And also account for tough love and constructive criticism, okay? And apply context, okay? That takes that from like right here to about right here, okay? And then the rest of it is just being a rational, level-headed person and looking at that and saying, okay, obviously that was a very exaggerated and extremely overgeneralized statement. Surely she doesn't think that all men are trash. And she even walked out back there towards the end by saying a lot of men are trash, okay? But again, context and the fact that it was an overly generalized statement, okay? I don't think that this is something to be having a stage 5 meltdown over. Now, let's move on to the next statement, okay? The whole, maybe it's not us, it's you.
All of my friends are attractive. All of my friends are successful. All of my friends have something going on. Almost every single one of them have an issue with men. And you have to start looking at that and thinking, if an age range of that many people, including myself, living really all over the country, they're all successful, they're all intelligent, they're all good people. But if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think, it might not be us. It might be you. It might be men. It might be men.
I think that it is beyond laughable to get that fired up over that statement. And here's why I say that. Because at the end of the day, everybody has felt the same thing about their respective counterparts in the world of dating, okay? Guys, when we get together and we commiserate and we vent, all right, and we talk about dating, okay, yeah, we say stuff like, oh my God, women are crazy, women are all out of their mind, blah, 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 blah. You're going to tell me here that you are so offended by that statement when you yourself have felt the same exact thing, okay? And to the corollary, women also feel the same thing about us, okay? So, I mean, seriously, to get that fired up over that, when you have felt the same way respectively at one point, and everybody has felt like this before, okay? I don't think that this is something to be getting this fired up and this bent out of shape about. Now, here's a big takeaway here, all right? Get out a pen, all right? Jot this down. Dear Diary, today on Life by Z, he said this. This is not a man thing or a woman thing. Oh, all men are crazy. Oh, all women are crazy. Men are crazy. This is people are crazy. Okay, this is a two-way street. It works both ways, okay? Yeah, she was expressing it from her perspective, and that's the thing, is that when we make these types of statements, the point that I think we miss is that we are making these statements based on our emotions from the perspective and the optics that we see it. And we forget the fact that, hey, it's a two-way street, so therefore it's not a man or a woman thing, it's a people thing, all right? So when you look at it from your optics, yeah, that's how you feel about it.
And I'm not a feminist, so please don't take this as a feminist rant. I love men. I think men are great. I think men have failed themselves and they failed us. And I'm just trying to help you out because I think there are a lot of really great guys out there who need a little help. And I don't think that there are a lot of women that are stepping up and saying these things.
Like I said a few minutes ago, hard truths and constructive criticisms meant to be helpful, not to put people down. In the spirit of that, I agree with her 100%. Okay, she's right. Men do not act like men anymore, and I felt that way for a long time. In fact, my brother and I talk about this all the time, all right? Men's men have very much become the exception, not the rule nowadays. And it's become so mainstream in society that I've coined a phrase for it. It's called minnow mentality. Men in name only. Now, an explanation as to what that is, I guess you could call it superficial masculinity, all right? Or tangible displays or statements of masculinity. And you got to remember, there's tangible things, but there's also intangible things too. And the intangible things, in my opinion, matter more, all right? We do great as guys with these intangible things like, oh, you know, I'm going to grow a beard and get a tattoo, and I'm going to buy a brand new F-350 and some power tools and build a man cave down in the basement with a built-in beer keg. And I'm going to start shitting with the door open and drinking out of the milk carton. Yeah, I'm a hard-charging, kick-ass alpha male now. No, you're not. Why? Just because you do those tangible things and you check the box? Okay? It's not like, here, check all these boxes and now you get elevated to man's man status. And that seems to be what a lot of people think. Okay? Look, that doesn't mean because you grow a beard that obviously you're not a man's man. But to the corollary, growing one doesn't necessarily mean you are, nor any of those other tangible things. It's the intangible things that actually matter. The intangible things like responsibility, maturity, discipline, character, ethics, morality, judgment, okay? The intangible things carry a lot more weight, and we don't do a very good job at that. Call those things exactly what they are, right? It's how you conduct yourself. It's how you carry yourself. And that's really where we're not doing well. And if you actually look at her video, and you look at what she says in her PSA about how men don't act like men in the realm of dating, and granted, it's not limited just to dating, but it's a perfect example of minnow mentality. So, without any further ado, let's see what she has to say about that.
Number 1, are you single? No, really. 2, make plans. We don't want a pen pal. 3, value. Value someone who has value. Consistency. Be consistent. Don't be great and then fade out. And then don't fade out and then think that you're going to fade back in, because it ain't going to work. And last but not least, if all else fails, don't be a bitch.
All right, so in her PSA, she does a really good job at explaining in detail what each one of those things are. Most of them are pretty straightforward and to the point, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. She does a good job of explaining it. All of these things, or more to the point, the lack thereof of some of these things, is exactly what I'm talking about with minnow mentality. And by the way, minnow mentality isn't applicable just to dating, but this is a prime example of what it is, where it is, and how it has an impact on things. But anyway, of these particular things that she talked about, I'm not going to comment on all of them. In the interest of time, I'm going to narrow it down to just one, and that's this.
Value. Okay? Value. Take that in. If you want to date a girl that has nothing going on, then that's fine. But please do not mix in people like me and my friends who have something going on with your other girls that have nothing going on. I would say to the men out there, try to maybe find a woman that you can talk to, communicate with, might actually have her shit together, might actually be ambitious and have something going on or want to have something going on. I don't care what she does. She doesn't have to be on TV. She doesn't have to be a PhD. She doesn't have to be a television producer. She doesn't have to own her own company, but be ambitious and have something going on. Those women out there are going to be a lot more fulfilling to you. You're actually going to enjoy your time. And if you actually might want a sustainable and healthy and stable relationship, that's probably the kind of girl you're going to need to find.
I could probably do a whole video just on the whole concept of value. But in the interest of time and wrapping this video up, I'm just going to keep it on point by saying this. She mentioned value. She also mentioned standards. One of the biggest things that I see out there is that so many people are willing to compromise both the notion of value as well as standards for the sake of companionship. There are so many people out there that just have to jump from one relationship to the next because they have this fear of being alone. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Look, when you get a little bit of alone time, that's when you get to know yourself. When you get to know yourself, okay, that's when you figure out exactly what it is that you want, okay? And there's no way that you're ever going to be able to value unless you know what you want, okay? So don't be afraid to go it alone for a period of time until you find that person and then you recognize the value. And you know what? I think she has a great point there with the whole concept of once you find that person, you will appreciate it so much more. So you know what? Value, and don't compromise standards. Uphold them. So many people compromise standards for nothing more than the sake of companionship, and I think that's a big part of why there's so many relationships out there that just are not good relationships and leave both people bitter and disappointed when all is said and done. But anyway, hey, that's just me. So take that for what it's worth. That's really all I've got to say about it. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and remember the new website, it's up and running. It's lifebyz.com. Make sure you check it out. Until next time, keep the coffee cold, and I'll see you then.